All right, time for the open mic, and please again keep in mind that this is a family-friendly event. There are children present in the bookstore, so please act accordingly. We'd like to ask participants to be considerate of the readers and keep your reading to 5 minutes or less. We got, I think, 10 readers today, so that way I'll give everybody a chance to read. So, all right, so I'm going to start it off with a little poem. This is my most recent piece, and still kind of a work in progress. A couple of you have heard this already, so, but that's okay. It's a poem about my coat. It's called Faded Light Brown. I love my coat. There is no other coat like my coat. This coat, which you gave me over a dozen years ago now, at a cozy Christmas for two, in a small log cabin with a wood stove, in Big Sur, where we got married. A small live tree we brought with us, under which stood this huge box with this coat, to keep me warm on the long opera days, 8 a.m. to midnight in production. Still keeps me warm, cozy, in Oregon now, with its roomy hood protecting me completely in the rain. Phrase along the cuffs now, faded light brown now. It feels so good, fresh out of the wash. Thank you. Okay, so our first reader for the open mic, or second reader, is Jane Heidegger. Got it. Okay, please welcome Jane.
The comic relief for this. I want to preface this. Maybe I'll just hold it like a rock star. Go. I wrote this years ago when I was taking classes at Lane Community. And there was some kind of a writing contest among community colleges, and they were choosing different kinds of writing to send to this contest, and my poem was chosen. And the thing was, it was going to be critiqued by experts. It didn't win anything, and it came back to me with notes saying, too much Keatsian bleeding. I didn't take the bleeding out. You see what you think. It's called These Poets. I always thought, they always said, that poets have their heads in the clouds and do not ken real life at all. They have an interesting way of grouping words, nothing more, making phrases to slip across the tongue and hold in the mouth a moment, savoring. On my own, I found the truth standing in bookstores, or, legs tiring, kneeling by the shelves, snatching fragments from the pages. I'm caught by what I see there, like gazing through crystal. These poets are the real pragmatists. They know, and if I can get the second page out here, and they can tell it like it is, with words like scalpels that cut through all the buffers I construct straight to the soul. I stand and read in the bookstores and am bled by words, and know that I must take them home and bleed again.
Thank you, Jane. Next up is Joy McNeil. Oh, Joy.
I don't know how many of you ever enter contest or submit your work, but the National Federation of State Poetry Societies has a big annual contest. They have several divisions in it, And if you're a member of Oregon Poets Association, you have free entry fees, except for the top, I think, category, which is many thousands of dollars you can win, and you have to pay $5 for that one. But it's a nice discipline to write to these categories. So if you ever have a chance, look up the National Federation of State Poetry Societies contest, and you actually get money. I've won quite a bit over the years from the National. And this poem won second place, I think it was last year, and it was a category on books, and so I thought, why shouldn't I bring it today, considering where we are? And it's called Learning to See. An entire day can be lost finding the quote, the line remembered from a book. The titles keep a house stacked and crowded with friends and sometimes foes. From Steinbeck I learn that others know about the ratty place I was raised. From T.C. Boyle I taste a migrant world with its homeless horror. Carolyn Forche reveals war's callous cruelty with a sack of dried ears. I keep reading, knowing that macular degeneration will soon swamp my boat. When that happens, I will listen to recordings and press my spine against the walls of book spines supporting my house. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Next up is Eric Muller.
Hey, thank you, Steve, and thank you, Charles. First time here, and it's very welcoming indeed. People have mentioned or raised the question, why write poetry? Well, Joy gave us one answer. We can get some money, and I think the featured readers indicated that writing about problems was a tremendous way of understanding and releasing. And I think a situation like this indicates why we write. We write to communicate to our readers. And the lovely thing about a reading like this is you get immediate feedback, which you don't if you've got a book out there or a broadside of a poem. So many, many reasons. I could list more. I've been writing many decades, as some of you have. Anyway, I want to read two poems for you. They're not seasonal. In fact, this one is called Pansies. So it's a flower poem, and then I have a tree poem for you. What does it mean to become a flower? How is it done? I ask this, a human, looking at myriad pansy faces, deep purple, silk pink, faces of clowns. What is it to be a flower, and why? Could I be one? How could this be? I stare at color, form, pansies, the patio circus. What do they tell me? Face out. Draw up from the stem all the color you can. Learn the sun, your patron, yet friend, as you face him. Turn then. You have been given a stem to turn and turn again. It's a little chapbook I've done. I love the U tree, the Y-E-W tree, but I also love the turn on you and you. You is a very powerful personal pronoun. Our English teachers have told us don't use it in an essay because you don't know who's reading it. Your teacher's reading it. And your teacher's not the you of, intended you. So this is a poem about a tree, but it moves very quickly into the play on the pronoun, Y-O-U. And you may know a yew tree. It's sort of, it looks like a scrubby tree out on the West Cascades. It can grow quite large. I've seen some maybe 3 feet across, 80 feet tall, but it's very rare. It's usually very scrubby looking because it's a low-story tree crowded out by the bigger ones. But the amazing thing about it is that it's been supplying Taxol, which is now synthesized, but people used to strip bark, and bring it in. It's a cancer fighting drug, so that's referenced here too. It also has a very reddish, not the bark, but if you strip off some of the bark, no, we synthesize that now. But if you strip off some, it has a very reddish skin to it. Yew tree that I love, so shadowed by tall trees, you must twist and bend for your light. Wood, red as meat, as organs crying out for soothing. Your Taxol's the balm for cancer. I met Antonia's grandma from the old country, frail Jew, surviving World War II. Family called her Yu. I guess at the spelling now. I loved greeting her, saying her name. About you, love, you subtly curved tree, you balm and secret dark woods. I called you. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next up is Andrew Gonzalez.
This poem is called, Will You Pick Up My Heart? And will he or she or they pick up my heart? Because I poured out my heart into that, and it is laying on the ground, throbbing to pulsing rhythms of life, versing and reversing. We're rehearsing through till to them in a hearse brings our bodies to loved ones watching in animate bodies. Where went the animation? It went out blessing the new creation. What grew from it was nations piercing oceans with black tar blocking ears from new vibrations. Hear them. Hear them. Hear them emerging from my beating, throbbing heart laying on the floor. I beat to it. It does not beat to me, and I beat for it to hear what it is saying. And I am beating to the beat of your heart, and you are beating to the beat of my heart, and sometimes we can beat to the beat of other hearts, but you know that's okay, because hearts are not monogamous. But we abuse our hearts each time it hurts, but we smile each time we kill a song almost sung, each time we say this too shall pass before it has yet begun. Each time we long and forbid too long. Each time we do what is right, knowing that it is wrong. Each time we say we belong where we don't belong and refuse to belong where we do belong. We have already committed suicide. We have not done ourselves justice ever since the wand of adulthood was laid in our hands. We have heeded the wrong demands, and that is suicide. To murder what you could have been, and henceforth commit infanticide. To abort premature all the diversity that you could have been had your heart entered the story instead of copying someone else's thud. Thud to the thud of the thuds that you feel. And from that beat, profess what you see and what is real. And when somebody thuds to the thuds that are the thuds that they feel and profess what they see, and to them what is real, beat into dissonance and beat into harmony, and watch the beat of your thuds transform into symphony, and there will be agony and there will be irony, but there will be joy and there will be love. And we will pick up each other's hearts and say, I like what I see, and how you beat, and how you talk, and how you smell, and everything I hate about you, I love too. And when we have finally accomplished this, then perhaps we can finally ask, so what do you want to do?
Thank you, Andrew. Next up is Lee Darling.
It's hard to follow because mine are really hokey. This one I wrote about a book, and this book actually, this is not my book, but it's available in the store over there, and I had read about it. I had read the review of it and then wrote the poem after I got the book. Okay, it's called Finding Winnie. I saw her high above me, wrapped tight around his boot, disguised in such a clever way as a picture on a book. A keeper coaxed her down for me, secured in an embrace, before she could scramble up a tree, before she could escape. I brushed dust from her little face and tucked her in my coat, then headed off for home, my heart filled up with hope. I read aloud and smoothed each page where colors leapt and dazzled, and marveled at her journey, how far she had to travel. From far across the ocean on rail and ship she came, and stayed on to inspire the tales that bear her name. Now I know how real it was, that story we've been told, how bear and boy would meet one day and fables would unfold. I guess we never really know just how we'll be remembered, but this is sure, one little bear inspired a priceless treasure. That's a kid's poem, obviously. This one I wrote after an experience of traveling in southern Utah. It's called Geology Lessons. 10 days circling southern Utah, naming Neapolitan layers and searching for slots and joints tucked into rock wall casinos. I struggle to see chocolate or vanilla in castles that tower above bone-dry moats. I marvel at the original geologist who etched fox, coyote, and eagle into pumpkin or oyster-tinted stone. She molded a parade of mammoths who march yet never move across rock-solid dunes. She fashioned robes over stone pillars, replicas of the ancient ones with children huddled at their feet. She leaned one elder against a canyon wall. He glowers at our intrusion.
Thank you, Lee. Next up is Charles Thielman.
Thanks. It's good to be here. This is the first time I've been here for the full read. So I used to drive bus in Portland. I did that for 10 years. And drove, I have several poems about that experience. At one point I was driving past what was called, at one point it was called Little Saigon. It had mostly Southeast Asian refugees there. About 600 apartments, just all over, many acres. Then it shifted into being Haitian refugees, as well as refugees from Africa. Wherever refugees would come in, they would wind up in Portland at that place. Or there were a few others. But I drive bus and pick up all kinds. The Haitian refugees, some of my favorites, would sing in French. And so they would speak French looking for wherever they could get off the bus, where they would go to work. So it took them a while to learn it. They were always excited that they were able to spot it. Just real happy to be alive. And so this first poem is titled Immigrant. It's about some of the Central American refugees. I worked with the committee in support of El Salvador, as well as the Nicaraguan Support Committee, actually Sandinista Support Committee. So that there was an underground railroad for these people was pretty well known among certain bus drivers. And this person here is an example. She huddles into a seat on a Portland bus. Fire scars on her mind, face, her neck. She clasps her hands in her lap. The brown hands that wove sandals for children's feet. I don't know. I close the doors and check my mirrors for incoming traffic. I do know. I pull at the wheel with tan, brown hands, and hot yellow light rises in July. Above, mountains far south of here, an Army helicopter searches for caves to rocket. So I'll read a couple short ones here. I grew up in Chicago. I probably grew up, but it was in Chicago for a while. And so I was a Boy Scout for about 8 months. Earned my way out of that. But in the meantime, I picked up, literally picked up the newspaper delivery route for Chicago Tribune. I did that for a little over 3 years, going through the blizzards and the drifts and all that cold stuff. I had to quit because I fell asleep in a drift. My brothers came running out, found me, and that was the end of that career. But so this first poem comes from that. Chicago, 64. Headlines promising a day of dark wings fed by thermals. Sirens circle below the plank of a dangerous night. A paper carrier, fingers darkened by newsprint, his arms full, walks beneath an arch of birdsongs, porch to cement stoop, dropping the Chicago Tribune on welcome mats, eyes and ears tracking the slow cars and suspect doorways, pre-dawn sky like new skin, a veneer over balsa green. Today being his turn to raise the flag above half-mast. Much still held sacred this spring. 4 years later, me and a bunch of buddies were really excited in August about what's going on downtown. What are we going to do? Chicago Democratic Convention, all sorts of people in the streets, and just, I was like turning 18, pretty naive. So we hopped in a car and we went down there and got basically blown away by seeing everything and got my first whiffs of tear gas and the beginnings of my first political education. Though I had friends in school, there was brothers that gotten wounded or died in Vietnam. So this is from that. 2 years later, I was at in a different capacity, and at what was called the Days of Rage in Chicago streets. So I inhaled red bandana at that time, and it's at full pulse right now. Chicago, August 68. Now is the time for all the moon's foals to swim into this uniform sky. Many good men are ocean waves away. Medic! Medic! 80 towers above leaves of grass, flowers, flowers, bloody via billy clubs. Oh, Captain! Folk guitar, broken under shouts of battle, plumes of tear gas. Medic! Medic! So, as you know, in January, thank you. Impeachment Day, March, January 20th.
Thank you, Charles. Charles. Up next is Mark Zentner.
Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I was invited by Donna, and my wife Helen wanted to be here to read, and she wasn't able to make it. I thought maybe I'd try to fill in with something I wrote. I've lived in Oregon almost all my life. I wrote this, however, quite a while ago when I lived in Chicago, and I was in love. It's called Meadowlark. A certain and soft, your meadowlark lover, refraining your call, she winks you a sing. And being a temptress, your eyes start to window, and full of an anthem, you don the belonging to waiting, the waiting of growing. The needs start you humming. Her eyes have shown windows like bracelets, like clowns, like claws full of beckon, like apricots ripening, like daffodils wilting, the heart full of beating. A pendant of no-nos, round skin of forevers, the will of a mother, so simple and sound. In a wheat field of big, the snow was her maker. A pause to pillow in a palm grown moist, a sunset for speaking. And once she told me, when I was so much, that she was so much and so lonely.
Thank you very much, Mark. Next up is Brian Salisbury.
Hi, let's see, I'll start with most of my stuff's about all about animals, and none of this stuff is censorable. It has no offending language. Okay. Rabbit in headlights. I'm a rabbit in headlights, caught in the act of living, a cop flashing red lights, fierce little crab claws clicking, driving in night snow, sea urchin spines flying at me. Everywhere I go, yellow dog lines sliding past me. Pride of the wolf pack, the only one left from the drowning. All that plastic still comes back, though we hide it well with our clowning. Alone in a great hive, making my way without stinging. Though I'm drowsy, I must drive, staying awake with my singing. Like an owl in the moonlight, calls for love in a world without pity. Though the bleak dawn will soon light on life without friends in the city. I wrote that while driving nonstop from here to St. Louis. No sleep at all. Those all dream images that came while I was driving. It was not a good idea. Okay, this is, I hope I didn't read this last time, but it's topical for Christmas, so I figured I'd do one that was like that. Felice Navidad, you know, the new Muzak song that you hear all over the place. Okay, well, this is Police nabbed my pad. Police nabbed my pad. It was underwater bad. Banks repoed my car for fees on my card. They outsourced my job to some poor starving slob. I'm feeling kind of blue. I just ate my shoe. Price of gas just got higher. My tap water catches fire. I hope I don't get sick, but if I do, I'd best die quick. I'm having a Mitt Romney Christmas. They get shorter with each one I read. So this is the four-liner. I'm just about to try and publish a whole pamphlet of at least one animal per letter of the alphabet. four-liners based on the same format as Ogden Nash's The Turtle. The Turtle Lives, Fixed Plated Decks, which practically conceal its sex. I think it clever of the turtle in such a fix to be so fertile. Okay. I'll just start with the first two. Anteater. The anteater has a long snout. His picnic starts when ants come out. A cheap date, but here's the bliss. A foot-long tongue and a French kiss. Let's see. Apteryx. The apteryx, a wingless bird, has gone extinct. It's quite absurd. His back covered with hairy feathers. Why gals would never get together. So anyway. And then there's one I just made up in my head, which is the shortest poem on earth. Even shorter than Ogden Nash's, well, first of all, the two-liner he wrote, which is, candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. And my version was, Gandhi was dandy, but Buddha was cuter. And then the shortest poem ever published was Fleas. Adam had him. And I think that's Ogden Nash. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then my version, which I just wrote, is based on the Japanese No Theater, N-O-H. So the title is No. And I'll show where the question mark is. No, no. Oh, no.
Thank you very much, Brian. And last but not least, please welcome my co-host, Charles Castle.
Well, rather than let you guys get out of here early, so I got a couple, maybe three. This one's called A Contrast of Birds. In this land of mountains, rivers, and fertile valleys, black crows in the shimmer of rain turn over the fall leaves, and from their divinations speak to us in our dreams. In Maine, where I was born, gray gulls on beaches vexed by the wind crack the shells of winter crabs, and with no premonitions recite their blind belief. So, I don't think I'll break my own rules reading this one, but I might get close. It's called Facing the Fires of Our Books. And imagine this is a few hundred years from now, maybe when the patriarch has fallen and the feminine has assumed its rightful place, but maybe gone a little too far. In the future, when we are punished for our poetry, when our pages are pulled out of libraries and burned on the flames of our provincial desires, when we are reduced to ashes for our attachment to our heterosexual lusts, when the philosophy of sex has evolved beyond our bodies, when heart and mind become converts to a monosexual goddesslessness, held up in the flaccid air, all high and holy, 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 in gloved lambskin hands. When the tight ass and crotched masses, all social and media savvy, are endlessly trance dancing to algorithms of marketed transactional love, living soul saved in the perpetual heaven of their credit limit. Oh, how raw and ancient were oh, how raw and our ancient words will dance and sweat golden on those fat-fed fires. How they will sing our animal selves naked in that light, revealing how we broke our fathers' chains and set our mothers free, remembering when we roamed the savannas of all these worlds in our illustrious skin. So at some of the poetry readings in town, there are a few people who are able to get up and extemporaneously come up with some pretty cool stuff. I've never been able to do that. But I might be pushing myself a little bit to read what I just scribbled down before I walked out the door to come here. So it's just the beginning of who knows what. And it's probably something about to the poets. We tilt at windmills, you and I, through these windows of our minds, on vistas broad as all of time, and make ourselves the heroes there. We tilt at windmills plain as day, all our delusions reflected here, and play out their particulars and leave them harmless on the page. We tilt at windmills, grist are we, at imagination's beck and call, to hold the pen through trembled years, till at last our lances fall. And there's one other stanza here that isn't really worked out, but it's something like, we tilt at windmills of all kinds, in worlds imagined not unkind, made of softer love and rhyme, far from the harder, closer kind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles, and everybody else that read at the open mic. So this is our second season here, and we've started a new tradition this season that we would like to bring our featured readers back up at the end to read one more poem each. So if you, the three of you have something you'd like to share, we'd love you to have you come up and do so. And if not, that's fine too. So bring it on, okay.
Thank you, Stephen. Yes, I seem to. Thank you. Thank you very much. So a couple of lines from this one are from the song Old 55 by Tom Waits. Riding with Lady Luck. Sky dark through the airplane window. Early morning flight to Chicago. New baby boy there. I'm eager to hold. Grandson. Black pales to indigo in the east. Strip of bright orange turned slowly to gold. Old vinyl albums start singing in my head. Now the sun's coming up and I'm riding with Lady Luck. I smile to think of her up here in the plane with me. Is she the blonde woman sleeping in the next seat, curved nose and dark-rimmed glasses? Or the one sitting cross-legged on the wing, grinning in at me? Feeling easy with my life today. It's ups, 37,000 feet at the moment, and life on the ground. Luck is facing forward on the wing now, dangling her feet over the front edge, dancing her hands in the rushing air. Wonder what she has for me. This is easy. Chicago in a few hours. Baby grandson. Hold him and hold him and hold him.
This one is called Art as Sanctuary. Mid-air goats in blue. Blue faces, who are you? Moisha and Pablo, wielding their chosen weapons of defense, paint jumbled scenes, vivid, bold colors that mirror disturbed minds, puzzling, out of control. Or were they mirroring the times? The morning news assaults me. My mind seizes, remembering recent headlines. What disjointed images, headless subjects, flat, wild figures in chaos would greet me if painted today. I find relief by walking into our local gallery. The exhibition, a juried show, highly acclaimed. I find watercolor portraits, gentle landscapes, the docile still life, subdued palettes, intricate hues, smile at me from the softly lit room. An orderly refuge unfolds, like a kindly grandmother with outstretched arms. Perhaps these artists shun the news.
All right, thank you so much. I'd like to thank our featured readers this month once again, Margaret, Brye, Donna, McNeil, and Jennifer Tucker. Please give them all a hand again. It was a treat hearing you all, and we hope you all enjoyed our event. As a reminder, we are here on the second Sunday of each month from 3 to 5 p.m. Today was a little early because they had some holiday events happening in the bookstore, but our normal time is 3 to 5 p.m. So we look forward to seeing you again next month when our featured readers will be James Otter and Raven Wolf. Again, I'd like to remind you to please support the work of all of our featured authors by buying their books and supporting them online. All the information you need is on the flyer, the Eugene Poetry Foundation flyer right over there on the table. So please take one. Thanks again for coming. See you next time.